Top of the day to you. We're all already getting to work. As you can see, we are here at the police precinct, getting ready to do our ride along. So let's go and check it out. All right, so we're here in the lobby, getting ready to go through the ride along. Keep you updated.
7:33 to 7:47.
47, go ahead.
I've got a stray German Shepherd over here at 15 from Leota. If you can swing by. And I'm gonna get out of my car, but if you could just stay in the car. And
I sure will.
Sounds good.
So one of the things I keep in mind, especially as this is a very sensitive situation, and you know, cultures pretty much colliding indirectly during this symbolism of a video. You know, I try to keep the camera down to be respectful of everyone, houses, properties, things of that nature. Don't want to put anyone's business out there because I don't want anybody putting my business out there. And so, you know, it's pretty cool. And these officers out taking care of some business. We'll stay, keep you updated.
7:33. 7:33 to 7:47. You can signal that.
10-4, thank you, sir.
So, how much time does it take with learning the codes, you know, and for dispatch? How hard is that process?
It's not too bad, honestly. You'll use them so much. It seems like a lot, but whenever you use them every day, it's not too bad. There are codes that sometimes are like, remember that one, but it's not too bad.
So let me get when you start your shift, does the team, a patrol team, come together with the captain, if you will, and talk about a game plan and do a meeting, or is it kind of like everybody kind of has their assignments already, hop in your patrol car and kind of do what you do best?
So in the mornings we come in and we kind of brief each other on what's going on. The sergeant kind of tells his patrol officers, hey, this is what's going on.
Also, officer, if you don't mind, how was your experience during and it's still the height of, if you will, but like, you know, when the pandemic first kind of started happening back in March of 2020, and then you got into like November and earlier this year, you know, how has the health pandemic experience been with your law enforcement and patrolling, if you don't mind?
So at the height of the pandemic, I was actually in police academy. So I wasn't even patrolling, but it did affect how, you know, we had to take those measures to a T, making sure that nobody's getting sick so we could get people out of the academy. Because if people got sick while at the academy, they'd have to come back to complete courses.
So that's an essential job, obviously. So the academy still had to go on.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it was kind of we just had to rough it out. It was a battle. So
Wow.
yeah, we just had to manage.
And I know during that time, we were all figuring out what is COVID exactly and what does it mean. So you having to go to the academy at the time where everyone's still trying to figure it out, I'm sure it took a lot of courage, if you will, and just mindset of saying, hey, I'm gonna get this done, you know.
There were a lot of unknowns, for sure.
That's what I mean, you know, so that could be a fearful thing, you know. All right, we're gonna continue to go on.
Probably where it's gonna be at.
Gotcha.
Just being aware of that. We'll go down some residential areas and kind of take a look down there.
What are some of the reactions that you get when you go down the residential area? I mean, it's a very powerful statement and symbol when you see a police car, you know, anything of that nature. I guess that's in any community, you know, but do you see some of the, oh shoot, police, you know, type situations? And is there some sense of power in that? And that, if you don't feel comfortable answering any of that, you know, I understand. But what's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, mostly around here, it's pretty positive. Okay. You know, I treat you just like I wasn't wearing the uniform, you know. I'm a citizen just like you, and I don't mind giving ways, taking ways, you know. Yep. But mostly it's positive, you know. But I will say there's times whenever something isn't right, something feels a little bit off, and you know, you wouldn't be a cop if you wouldn't investigate just a little bit further. Not going crazy, but just hey man, what's going on today?
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And I'm sure during those little times when you're going through the investigation, that's when things open up, and it's kind of like, we got to talk a little more in detail.
Yeah. You know, it's like talking to your, you know, spouse or your daughter, son, whatever, and you know something's off with them. They're talking to you. You're like, oh, you're not talking to me like you normally do.
Yep.
Or, you know, you're not acting right. So you try to kind of dive in a little bit deeper than that, than the surface level sometimes. But most of the time, our interactions just are on the surface level. You know, making our presence known, proactively policing, making sure nothing's getting broken into, and making our presence known. Because the more we make our presence known, the less, you know, the more dissuade people may be from committing crimes.
Absolutely. And I can appreciate the statement, hey, I'm a human being just like them, or just like my neighbor. And so, you know, everyone gets respect. I hope I can get it in return, and we can find a solution to go ahead and move forward, you know. But from time to time, you know, if things are not, you know, civil, you know, or things are kind of off, I have a job to do. I have to investigate and see what's going on. We pray it's a situation where it can be de-escalated as quickly as possible and we move on. But there are times, like you said, you know, where you are exposed to some other sides of life, you know, that most people, they have filtered, you know. Yeah. So definitely receive. And if you guys are watching, please leave any comments or anything as far as questions that we can ask. You know, law enforcement, I'm not saying that this particular department is the official spokesperson or anything. That's why it's important for you to engage with your local department, get to know what's going on, go through the process. An opportunity to have a citizens police academy really gives the average individual in your neighborhood no excuse to not know what's going on. And if you can't make it, then you should be able to have a neighbor go and, you know, be able to explain. Like, one thing I didn't know yesterday during the tasing process, you know, the purpose, well, when we get to the tasing process, it's usually because you're going to be detained, and if you are resisting that through force, even if it's pushing off of the officer so he can't handcuff you, that right there through policy allows the tasing process to begin, because now you're going into a detaining position or process and you're using force, and a taser is designed to immobilize you and really just keep you stuck to where you can't move. And then naturally they have to you know, let go of the tase, and so that way you can move, because through the Department of Justice you have to be able, through your free will, you know, be able to comply. But if you're tased, you can't move. So you can't hold that against you. So these are little things that you learn that you may not know, as far as, oh, why he or she tased me, and I didn't, you know. Again, if you're going to be detained and you start using force in any way, through their policies and procedures, they're able to use that taser. And then once they let go of that taser, they're hoping that you can comply to go ahead and get through the arrest process, if I'm saying that correctly, officer. Anything you want to add at all?
No, that summed it up pretty well. Yeah, that summed it up pretty well.
So the situation like this you're going through, you're pretty much, I guess, looking for somebody to run across, or
anything out of the ordinary.
Everything out of the ordinary.
So you will patrol these streets 100 times. You know whenever something's just not sitting right with you. There are times when you pull up on something, it doesn't seem right, and it's just some dude having a barbecue, and you're like, hey man, how's it going? But usually, if something feels off, look into it a little bit. You can just say hi to them. Just say hey, But
what's your thoughts on this too, officer? It was a conversation in the past, and it's neither here nor there, but supposedly, I wasn't during my time, but the police department used to have individuals actually walking the streets compared to the patrol car. Yeah. And some say that the patrol car, because it's on the move, doing a great job doing its thing, what it's supposed to do, kind of create a disconnect with the residents, if you will, because back in the day, you actually had to walk past one another and have that conversation, if you will. Does the patrol car play a role? Or what's your thoughts on that? Broad question. So,
I think in a smaller area like this, foot soldiers are not going to be as beneficial as a patrol car, because just the number of officers on a shift. Right now we're working...
That's a great point.
We're working 5 officers and we have a whole city to kind of corral, if you will.
Yep.
And honestly, most of us are on calls mostly all day, at least on day shift.
I see.
And so, yeah, right now it's kind of a lull period. Everybody's getting to work, everybody's doing this, but come 12 o'clock, lunch, or 2, 3, 4, I mean, we're having to get around. Foot patrols are great. It's just we don't have the manpower to do that. I think right now.
That's a great point. I think the numbers, and while we're here, I want to shout out the dispatch office, because we went to dispatch yesterday, and like officer was saying, when things pick up, you know, they're busy, and I'm thinking of the dispatch and the calls they're getting, you know, for all type of situations, and so it all works hand in hand. Want to give the dispatch a huge shout out, and to what officer was saying in regards to the patrol car, especially with the city population, I think there's about like 43 patrol officers for this department, and I believe that puts like each officer like at 100 to 200 residents or something like that, 300 residents, maybe more per officer or something of that nature. So it's probably more than that. I forgot the numbers. Look at the past videos in there.
It's about 18,000 residents in Springfield.
18,000, so 43. So officers, you do the math on that then. And again, they're working shifts, so it's not like it's 43 at one time per se.
So you'll have 4 or 5 on this shift, and then the night shift comes in.
Gotcha.
And then you'll have your rotations. There's another day shift that'll come in whenever I'm off, so I can get some time off.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But yeah, but I've worked the past 2 days, and they'll come in and work the next 2. So
I follow you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna keep going, guys. Again, leave your comments for questions that you can ask law enforcement, and we'll see what we can do to get it to the respective department to see if those questions can be answered. But this is a great engagement opportunity. I would say how you move things forward is by meeting people, having conversations, building relationships. You don't have to agree on everything, but a respectful conversation to be able to, you know, progress, you know, is a great way to get things done. So that's what we're doing, and I always advocate for you to do the same. Engagement is so important. So let's keep going. I try to be integral, and I try to make sure that I'm respectful of all situations, meaning there's some things that are sensitive that I don't want to put on camera, just simply because is it going to provide a solution, or is it going to provide more challenges? If it's going to provide more challenges, we really don't need it. But I was having a conversation with the officer here that, you know, just some of the situations, as far as, you know, just the situation some people are in where they make decisions that they normally probably wouldn't make, but due to desperation may have to make. And, you know, growing up with solid foundation as far as the household and just different men in my life and the women in my life growing up, I do believe that, you know, a strong family unit does help, you know, create some kind of sustainability for a child growing up. I'm not saying that, you know, as they get older, they make their own decisions, but having a strong family unit does help. Officer, if you don't mind, the family unit, what's your thoughts on that, and how does that play a role as far as some of the results you see out here as you're patrolling, if you don't mind me asking?
So I just think that to develop a child in the way that it should be raised, I think that it's important to have that family unit, that family structure, so they don't go off into other paths that they wouldn't have if they didn't have that support. I think that's where most of our problems stem from, is just having that family unit, that core family unit strong. Because, you know, broken homes unfortunately aren't I want to use the right language, aren't conducive to raising a child and showing them how the world is and how, you know, how normal people are. I don't want to say normal. I want to say how citizens should be, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
It's a beautiful neighborhood, for one. Never been on this side. For first and foremost, and 2. So, in regards to you know, the engagement part, you know, how do we engage with law enforcement? And again, officer here is not an official spokesperson or anything. We're just having a conversation, and we just ask for you to appreciate a lighthearted conversation that we can just grow and build from. You know, that's all we're doing. But more so, especially when it comes to law enforcement, one way to help decrease that activity is to have strong households. So if you're a community leader in any way, neighborhood leader, or just a young person or any person, human being, how can we as citizens do our part? One is, as best we can, focus on providing strong households for the children to be able to develop and really be the true complement to society that they can be. And I hope that doesn't sound too cliche, but that's something that we need to consider if we're going to talk about what can we do as neighborhoods and residents. This is a beautiful neighborhood. We're going to keep going, guys.
Yeah, it's a nice little section here.
All right, so we're just kind of staking out, if you will, making sure things are going smooth. There were a few incidents that that popped up that I wanted to be respectful of, but I'll say this: officer has a PR face, but he also has a game face. And the moment I saw his game face through his eyes, because he was taking care of some business, that's what I knew was real. And we started to get into, just some of the, probable cause, some of the reasonings for probable cause. And even though you may see cars that you're familiar with, that you have arrested folks in the past in that car, or it's been challenges, unless there's probable cause, you really can't do anything. You got to be respectful of it. We've talked so much, so we're gonna just kind of keep it running a little bit. I will say, being in this patrol car and going through this experience and seeing firsthand, and just knowing, like the officer said, like I said, I knew it was real when I saw his eyes. And I didn't see what he was looking at. I was talking to him, but his eyes like just changed. His demeanor changed, not in a negative way, but he was bracing up for action, put it like that. And when we parked and we're staking out or whatnot, he said, think about it, Donovan. Like, I'm putting my life on the line right now to go try to find a solution to a possible problem. And who's to say someone could just turn around and try to end my life? Just off a basic traffic stop or anything of that nature. And then on top of that, I have to be respectful and protect the citizens that are around. So you have to use tact, you have to use strategy, but also I have to protect and defend myself. So when I saw him, bracing his body for possible combat, all I can think about was, wow, it was real. And two, an appreciation, and we pray everyone acts integrally, but your appreciation for going into and finding and fighting crime and making sure everyone's following the codes and things of that nature, because not everybody can do it. Going through the tase process, there's at least 10 of us, and really 2 people, volunteer. That's 20%. So I'm assuming there's maybe 20% or less in law enforcement, or even in the service, veterans, or in the Army, or military, I'm sorry. So if you don't mind, officer, just any statements or any comments, especially when it comes to just getting your game face on or anything. I saw a shift. What goes through your mind, if you don't mind?
So, like you said, things can go south real quick. You just have to be ready for the worst, hope for the best. Your life's on the line. You want to go home to your family at the end of the day, and you don't want anybody stopping you from doing that. So there is a shift. There's a time and place for it. It's not all the time. But there is a time and place for, the game changes sometimes, and you got to play it accordingly. And that's really it. That's the game right there.
And I can imagine, with the more experience and years you're on the force, the more you've experienced and the more the shifting becomes real, where it's a lifestyle, not in a negative way, but you have a particular duty. And I'm telling you, I would have never seen that shift. I was not in this car and saw this gentleman just turn it on, not in a negative way, but he had to get ready to handle business. So this is why I'm asking you guys to really engage and get in these situations. There's no other way. It's not going to be a TV. It's not going to be a spokesperson. It's not going to be a commercial or advertisement. It's really getting in here and even on the traffic stops, we looked at the computer here, which I'm not going to show, but we're able to go ahead and pull up tags. One of the primary things we talked about, if I'm not speaking out of text, is when someone asks for your driver's license, and that's literally just to make sure to run that you're not wanted, pretty much, or that you're not on the run or anything of that nature. Like that's all that's really for. Now that's what I was told, and I do believe the integrity of the officer. You're gonna have some comments, oh, he's just trying to bamboozle you or whatever, but we're trying to get some real insight. So I threw out the sovereignty conversation, 'cause I've seen a lot of YouTube situations, But ultimately, situations like that, officers usually want to call in their supervisor, especially as, you know, they may or may not be trained in that area, and you want to make sure that you have enough help as possible in that situation. Again, I do want to make sure that I'm transparent, because a lot of times when I'm in these positions, people say I'm not too transparent enough. I'm just being light on the situation, and so therefore my work is not integral, or it's designed for the cause of the agency or something like that, not of the people. So there are things going on, but again, I don't want to be the spokesperson or have some officer be the spokesperson. I want you to connect with your law enforcement and have a conversation with them about these things. That's all this is designed to do. And officer's in work mode right now. He is in a work mode. It's funny because he's playing it off, because we're staking out something. And so we're watching traffic. We're talking about all this. We're watching traffic. We're watching the businesses, but at the same time, his eyes are locked on a situation right now. And it's funny because he's trying to do a good job of being community oriented, but he's in work mode, and it's just amazing to see. And so again, I just want to really reiterate the point to get engaged and go through that process. Get a community leader or something, neighborhood leader, go through that process and build a genuine conversation and get some understanding on both sides. And we're gonna keep going.
Yeah, it'll pick up everything. So
hey, so I'm about to go ahead and run my driver's license number. I'm praying everything goes smooth. You see my voice shaking. Oh Lord, here we go.
There you go, press enter. So this is what happens whenever we run a driver's license right here.
Gotcha. Wow.
Every information, a little bit of information about you.
This is
that right
deep.
there, yeah. But as you can see, there's nothing on your record.
Yeah.
I mean, you're clear. That's not you. There you go.
Wow. So there it is. Before you even approach me, you already know what's going on. You can tell me every time I wipe my behind. Bad joke, guys. We got to keep it light. But so they are pretty much aware, you know, what they're doing. That's amazing. And so when they take your license, they're going to run it. It's going to pop up and let you know what's what. They might, or for example, there's a situation where they type in the tags and the computer will say stolen vehicle, if you don't mind me saying that,
yeah,
officer.
That's fine.
You know, stolen vehicle. And so this is a lot of information. I'm so glad I went through the process. And again, I'm advocating that you do. So I didn't get tased, but I did put my license number in the in the system there. Thanks, officer.
No problem.
And officer, you were talking about just you know, your motivations and just how many laws are out there, and there's just not, you can't know everything because it's just so much. How much percentage of the law would you say you arrest people on, and what's your experience on that?
So in my time here, thinking about the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of laws that there are out there, we probably arrest people on, I would say, 2 to 3% of those laws.
Wow.
For the most part, because you got your white collar crime, you've got your, you know, just crazy crime that you don't see that often in a small town like this. Stuff like that, really. I'm trying to think of other categories of crime that we just don't see that much, but there is just a lot of crime out there that, you know, you'll never see, at least arrest for. But yeah,
we kind of got into the conversation because I was talking about his career as far as like a chief or DA. This is a young man. I'm not going to give his age or anything, but young man starting his career, a mover and shaker from what I can see. And so I'm always, you know, asking questions in regards to people's future. But right now he's taking it day by day, and he was just saying in regards to what he's learning still is so much that you know, it's kind of. He's still learning, you know, he's still learning the process. So I can appreciate that. We want to make sure we got that question in. And we're getting ready to wrap up our ride along. It's been our time. I've learned and appreciated so much. I will say, officer, just me, and they're going to say, well, you shouldn't be feel like you're doing anything. But every time there's a police officer behind me, I get tense. I just don't do it, you know?
Yeah, no,
I don't do it.
I still get tense. I'm a police officer.
Yeah, see, so, you know, I'm just going to be very transparent. But, you know, being behind cars in a police car, these folks probably looking like, ooh. But being behind a police car and going through that process, it gives me a lot more appreciation. And again, I just thank the servicemen and women for their time. pray it's easy money and that everyone can go home safely. Officer, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate
Anytime.
you. And
Anytime.
I hope I see you, but under different circumstances as far as not having to do your job.
You'll see me in civilian clothes.
There it is.
There it is.
Hey guys, you take it easy. Thank you so much, and see you at the next training.